Have you ever tried to print a digital image and it just looked terrible, even though it looked really great on your screen? If that's happened to you, you, my friend, have encountered a problem with resolution. One of the most confusing aspects of dealing with digital images is resolution. What the heck is it? Why should you care? How do you change it? And on and on. Today we're going to conquer all of that. I'm going to show you exactly what resolution is and how it affects your images so you can always have beautiful prints. To illustrate, I'm going to use an image of my husband and I in front of the Parthenon in Athens, Greece. Just kidding. We're really in Nashville, Tennessee. Anyway, if I wanted to define image resolution for you, I would say that it's the number of pixels displayed per unit of printed length. It's a measurement that's only used in printing. And that probably makes zero sense to you, so just bear with me for a minute and I'll explain. I mentioned the word pixel. A pixel is the smallest element of any picture. And I have this photo of Sean and I open in Adobe Photoshop Elements, and I'm going to show you exactly what a pixel is. Now, don't be frightened by Elements at all. We're going to go much deeper into Photoshop Elements later on in this title, but I'm just going to use it to show you what a pixel is so you can visualize. I'm going to grab the magnifying tool here in Elements, and I'm going to draw a box around the little pink flower on my shirt here. And as I do that, I zoomed really far in. You can still see the flower, but you can begin to see what the flower is made up of. It's made up of tiny little dots of color, or blocks of color, if you will, that are called pixels. See, there's one here, 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 and so on. Every digital image you see on a screen, or a monitor, a TV, a plasma screen, a projected image, they're made up of pixels. When we zoom back out, I'll just click the Actual Pixels button here at the very top. We don't see the individual pixels because they're too tiny. Okay, all we see is a beautiful, smooth image. Now, another term you're going to hear me mention throughout this movie is that of pixel dimensions. Pixel dimensions simply mean how many pixels comprise this image. How many pixels wide by how many pixels tall. This particular image, I think, weighs in at about 1,200 pixels high by about 800 and some odd pixels tall. When we're dealing with images on the computer screen, resolution is measured in PPI, or pixels per inch, and all that is a measurement of how many pixels are going to be displayed per inch of that image. When we're dealing with a printed image, or an image that's going to be printed, resolution is measured in dots per inch, or DPI. This kind of makes sense because printers print dots. Unfortunately, people use these two terms interchangeably. They'll use pixels per inch when they really should be saying dots per inch, and vice versa. That just makes it all more confusing to you. So the resolution measurement is simply a way to tell a printer how tightly to pack the pixels together during the printing process. If you increase an image's resolution, that means the pixels are going to be packed more tightly together when that image is printed. That's going to make for a higher quality print. It's going to be really nice and smooth, which is what you want when you're printing an image. Lowering an image's resolution means that the pixels are packed more loosely together, which means that you get a larger physical size print, but it'll look horribly blocky, which is also referred to as being pixelated. It's not pretty. Why should you care about all this? The reason is that any image, the same image, can be measured at any resolution. That's right, resolution can always be changed. And believe me, you're going to need to know how to do that. You're going to encounter images measured at 72 ppi that you're going to want to print. For example, every single image that you download from your digital camera is going to be measured at 72 ppi. If you want to print that image, you're going to have to change the resolution, unless you want it to look terrible. So learning how to do this is very, very important. And we'll look at exactly how to do this in the next couple of movies. As you can see from our example on screen, our eyes cannot tell the difference between a 72 ppi image and a 300 ppi image. We just can't see the difference. The reason is that our eyes can only process so much information, and when it comes to seeing pixels on a screen, that maxes out at about 72 ppi. A printer, however, is not hampered by human eyeballs, and it can take advantage of resolutions much, much higher than 72. So if your image is never going to be printed, it's destined to live on screen only, you can see that you don't have to worry about resolution at all. Instead, what you need to pay attention to are the pixel dimensions, because on screen, that's really all that matters. The question now becomes, well, how much resolution do you need for a nice print? Well, that depends on the printer. I have a handy-dandy little chart here for you that shows some of the most common printing situations you're likely to encounter. We'll start at the top. The current crop of consumer inkjet printers do a great job at anywhere around 200, 250 DPI. If you want to really be on the safe side, you could print it at 300 DPI. This is a great use for photos. This will ensure that you print a nice, smooth, high-quality photo. If you're printing out something for a magazine, if you're making a fancy brochure for your company, or you finally created that coffee table book that you've always wanted to, you're going to send that to a professional printer, which is also called a service bureau. Those guys are going to want 300 DPI and up. If you're printing a newspaper ad, just a regular black and white document, or if you're printing a newsletter for your club or association, you're totally fine with 150 to 200 DPI. Okay, that's great for newspaper press and laser printers. But honestly, there's only one way to know for sure. If you're printing it at home, run some tests. Save an image out at 200 DPI and see how it looks. Save it out again and print it at 300 DPI. See if you can tell the difference. Chances are you won't be able to. If you're having it professionally printed, call the service bureau and ask them. Ask them what resolution they need. And if they don't know, run. Run fast. So to summarize what we've learned in this movie, you need to remember that the images we've looked at are made up of tiny dots called pixels, and that resolution is a measurement used in printing, and that's really the only time it matters, no matter what anybody else tells you. You've also learned that resolution can be changed with software, and it's very important to know how to do that without harming image quality. And you've also learned that if you're never going to print your image, you're only going to send it in an email or post it on a website or use it in a presentation, something that stays on screen only, it's the pixel dimensions that matter most.